Yes, no, because they put a stamp.
Good to see you, Jim.
Stamp on it. You get a pretty picture. I've had a serious learning curve, Serious learning curve, right? But it's going to get better.
Good. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the workshop, the City Commission of March 26, 2024. I'm your Mayor, Chris Villa, and I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa?
Here. All right, tonight we're here to discuss, we have playground discussion, but it's a kind of a more in-depth look at what's happening at Sunrise Park. So I don't know if the commission was able to see the packet with the bids. We received 4 bids and for our playground equipment at Sunrise Park that we are remodeling there in accordance to the rest of the larger project there. So with that being said, Mr. Forte, I'll kick it over to you to kick it off.
So the intention of the work session was that we received 4 bids. We went out to bids, we gave them a dollar amount, and then we requested proposals to come back. And you have those 4 proposals in your agenda packet. So the purpose of this work session is for you to discuss those proposals amongst yourselves and then select one of those for us to then move forward with. So I know that we've had some discussions about the type of submittals that we have and whether they are big enough, age appropriate for what we're looking for. And really, if we want to go, if you want to just start out with, if everybody had a chance to look at the proposals and to see what they liked or didn't like, or if you want to jump into what other alternatives might be out there that we talked about, Mayor, you and I, and just see where the conversation goes. But we did produce for you, Michelle placed in front of you this document. It just shows the capital improvement budget for Sunrise Park. And you don't have to look at this now, but it'll probably come up as part of the conversation as we get further in, but at least it's there for you. So that we can refer to the dollars.
Yep, thank you very much. And speaking of this, because this is the first time I've seen this tonight, so I did have some budget questions, and then I do have some questions about the bids that I think, Steve, you may be able to shed some light on for us. And this is a workshop, so if anyone wants to butt in, just let me know. So we have 4 bids, and I've been up to the wee hours of the morning, several nights going through each of the bid packets. Obviously, this is a really important project for myself because I visit this park almost on a weekly basis. Well, either this one or Ross Point. So whichever one the kids want to go to after school, I take them over there. So I joked with Joe that I have an unofficial council of little ones that are reporting to me, and they're my favorite constituents, my 3 little kids. So I did show them all of the proposals, and I got their feedback.
Gee, I wonder which one they think.
Yeah, well,
They like the boat, don't they?
so, well, yes and no. So there were, in my determination, my opinion, 2 bids that I don't think are up to par with the other 2. And then the third one is very nice and big, robust, but I also think maybe a little bit too dangerous in one section, and I'll show you which one that I'm talking about. And then the 4th one is, I only had pluses on it. It's big, it's got a great design, it's got a good climbing park, and that was the one my kids really liked as well. And I'll just jump into it now, like, just so the commission knows where I'm going with this, and I have no clue if I'm going to have support for this or not, but I figure I'll throw it out there. So there is a proposal in our packet for one that is a pirate ship, and instantly the kids loved that. When we go to play there, it's always either, pirates, like we're on a ship, or it's a castle. One of those two. That's always the game they play. and they looped me into it. So they instantly gravitated towards that. But when I looked at this one, it's a very, very small one, and it says ages 5 to 12, but in reality, my 12-year-old is like, this is rinky, this is like for little kids. This is for Harrison. Harrison is my 4-year-old son. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's a nice little playground. But that same company, so what I did is I went through all 4 companies and I looked at reviews, I looked at their former work, I looked at their whole business as a whole, and I did come to really like CoreCat, which CoreCat is the one that did submit the plan that had the small boat. Yes, sir.
Isn't that the only one that included stainless steel?
Yes,
also?
and I was going to ask Steve about that, but possibly, though, that may not mean that the other ones don't include it.
Right.
Is that correct, Steve, in our conversation?
Yeah, that's correct. They're the only ones that listed in their proposal that it was using stainless steel and galvanized materials, which means if you were recommending a different company, I'd want to vet it.
Right. And I think that's a must. That's not even a debate for us up here, is we have to make sure that any of those companies do that and understand how much things rust on the river. And so as I looked at CoreCat, and Val, could you pull up the pictures that I sent you? And you're going to pull up the ones, ship 1, ship 2. And once you actually get to it, so this is not what they proposed. And I'm just going to tell you right now.
That's on the front page of their proposal, though.
It is. And I went through, they have like 1,000 different ones. I went through every single one. And this one is so wow. Let me warn you now, before you fall in love with it, is that the one that they proposed to us is 61,000. This one is 121,000. Difference of 60,000. Now, I'm going to get creative later in the meeting if you want to follow me down this path of how we can make it work. But let me just show you what it is first, and go to the next one, Val. It should be ship 2. So that's from the back side, and then ship 3. So it's a huge Spanish galleon. It is so wow. My kids, when they saw this, freaked out. And, you know, and you all have had kids that have grown up here through Holly Hill, and Holly Hill's always done what we can with what we have, but it's never been the best stuff. We've never had the best stuff. And although one of these proposals tonight that we do have, I do like and I think is worthy, and will kids have fun on it? Yes, they will. But there's a difference between wow and just a playground. And so my opinion is that this is a 15-year project. When was the last one built? You were here probably, John, right? At Sunrise. It was over 10, I know that. I can't remember the exact.
It's right around 10 years, 10 or 11 years.
11 years, okay.
I
So-
remember when it was built.
Were you mayor here at the time? So, and it was great park, time for renewal, but this is a project that's gonna last that long. And so initially, we're $60,000 short from going to this. Now, there's other things in that proposal that can be taken off. Val, can you pull up the CoreCat proposal? And I can tell you where the pictures are on it, just to show the commission. So scroll down. Keep going. It's going to be right there. Maybe up a little bit. Yep. So, and go up a little bit more. And actually, no, it's down. Yeah, go down. So there's a couple little things, like, you know, that little fish right there is a spring that costs $3,000, and they put 2 of those in. This bubble wall is, I forgot, $11,000 or something like that. And then they have a game, a daisy game, where you push the lights, which is pretty neat. But so this is the one that they proposed, and it is very small. Like I said, it's for very little kids. And if you see the kids that go out there, there's a lot of preteen kids that are playing, as well as younger kids as well. So there's about $30,000 that could be shaved off immediately through that. Now, I don't know what it would do to the installation costs. I'm sure the installation costs may go up because we're building a bigger ship. But maybe if we're not doing these extracurricular things, that could be a look at. But the other thing is that, and I'm not going to call finance up yet, but in my talk briefly with you today, we have about $200,000 in that account that we could allocate some more money to this. And right now, all of the submissions are poured in place rubber. Like we talked about, the soft rubber, it's very nice looking, has less maintenance to a point, but it is expensive, and all of the quotes, they differ from $67,000 to like $92,000, and I really don't know why it's so different, but each one of them is very different. So there's a way to possibly save there, but what I would be looking to do is if we could maybe shave off a little bit of it. Really what we'd have to do is rebid this. What I'm proposing is to throw these bids out and to allocate maybe $50,000, $60,000 more to this project, have them rebid it out, and let them know, kind of more what we're looking for. Now, this is a very themed park. So, and I have more information that I'll go through, but I don't want to just talk my head off. So, yeah.
I hear exactly what you're saying. Have another way to pay for it. I believe if you had that big ship, it's a statement. We talked about having the best. That poured in place is better than pine mulch. It's the best. The little clownfish might not be appropriate for 12-year-olds, but it might be appropriate for 4-year-olds. I would tell you to ditch the sunshade and you save 50 grand and you're only 10,000 over budget. Because when you look at that playground equipment, the weakest link over there is that sunshade.
Yeah.
It's molded, it's deteriorating. We live in Florida. If I took my children there, they would have sunscreen on anyways. And the way that sunshade is now, if you put it in a bigger boat and you're trying to cover it, you're gonna have a much bigger sunshade.
Right.
That's gonna add to the cost. Kids play outside, they don't have sunshades at elementary school when they play outside. We live in Florida, everybody knows about sunscreen. So I would try to pay for it rather than doing away with some of the other pieces. I would do away with the sunshade, because it's 25 grand and then 25 grand to install it.
50 grand.
It's a whole, so right there, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But if we could ditch the sunshade, you're that close.
And I hear you, and I'm there too. Remember too, I was the one that was really pushing, like, hey guys, let's put a shade
Right,
over it. And
right.
everyone's kind of like, really? I was like, please. So I'm there for that because of the statement piece and because the other ship is so large that
You can't cover that thing.
no, you can't. So here's what I thought of though. There are smaller ones with sails that are less expensive. From my research through these companies that I specifically looked at, there's ones in the $13,000 range. And I should have sent a picture to Val, which are not these big hip shades. They're like these triangular sails, and they look really neat. Now, I don't know if those can go over the ship, but what they could go over is the other things. So maybe the ship is just kind of like how they do here. Their shade is not over.
If
That.
you go to another picture, it actually shows you the sail shades coming off the ship.
Right, but
Oh, you're right. Yeah, there is a picture.
everyone
Yeah.
I know that's over 30 years old is vitamin D deficient,
No, keep going the other.
because we don't get in the sun anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, you could kind of see the other ones in the background. So that's very similar. I
Right.
forgot that was on there. Yeah. I should have got another picture of that.
Well, and that basically allows some little shady areas if the kids are getting
For
too
little
much
kids,
sun.
yeah, yeah.
Or if parents want to sit under the
Right,
shade.
but
Right.
But if they want to get in the shade, there's pavilions over there. They can go sit in the shade and
That's what
rest.
they're going to do anyway.
I'm just thinking, if you're trying to get that statement, and we have champagne taste and Budweiser budget, that I've never been a real supporter of the sunshades. And when I look, if I had to choose between a sunshade and a little boat, or no sunshade in that big boat, I'd take that big boat all day long.
No, there are no
And
comparison.
that's just, That's just me being cheap.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Well, let me just kind of bring you up to speed on a couple of things.
Yeah.
You can't negotiate what was submitted.
Right.
So in other words, you can't say, let's remove the shades and we'll have them put in a big boat. We can't do that. We're dealing with CDBG money, it's federal money, so we have to play by the federal rules. The other thing you need to understand is that although the difference in the ship itself is about $60,000, it's going to probably be closer to $100,000 when you add in the additional area that has to have the flooring, when you add in the additional construction costs, the labor that's involved in that. So you're probably looking at probably more close to $100,000 increase, not just the $60,000 for that. So we did pull the numbers, and we have about $200,000 in what we're calling the Capital Improvement Legacy Project at Sunrise Park. And that was everything from the grass, the irrigation, the landscaping, refurbishing the pavilions and the tables, cleaning the concrete under the pavilions, all the items that are on that list. So we still have a little bit of money, just under $200,000 remaining. If the commission chooses, you can throw out the bids, add more money to the project, and then we can put it back out to bid. And that'll take probably another month or two to do that.
And it should be quick because they have all the specs already. It's just changing the sunshade.
Yes and no. One of the other things I wanted to throw out at you while we're talking is we were talking about doing this as a replacement to the existing playground equipment. And somebody said, well, how bad is the playground equipment? And I don't go out there and play on it, one time. But I don't think it's in horrible shape. Do we want to consider adding this in addition to what's there? So in other words, don't remove what's there, but set this new playground back a little bit so that you still have the current playground and you have the new playground. And the reason I'm suggesting that is because there's going to be a lot of manpower and labor and cost to removing that old playground.
Oh, really?
That may still have another 5 or 8 or 10 years life to it if we maintain it properly.
Good thought.
So I just want you to think about that,
I haven't thought of that.
and just take that into consideration. What's that?
Said I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so if you choose to not like the proposal submitted, and you want to throw out the bids, and then add money to the budget for a new playground, we could modify the scope to require certain things. Like you can say, instead of it being just an obstacle course type playground, you can't be this specific because that narrows it down to one vendor. You can't do that. But you can broaden it to include
Say
something more.
So these are called themed playgrounds.
Yeah, you can say it could be themed, and we can make sure that we require that it has stainless steel bolts and parts that are part of it. And we can do that, again, with the shade structures. You could say we want shade structures, we don't want shade structures. You're never going to have a shade structure to go over that boat.
Right.
It's just way too high, and you got that mast in the center there. It's just that's not going to happen. So those are some options.
Just a couple things, Joe. So we're focusing on the playground equipment now, but most of this other stuff hasn't been done.
Some of
So
the
we
stuff's
it's
been done.
budgeted, but we don't know what the grass is coming in. We don't know what the spring.
Right.
So
Right.
if all of these come in, if each one of these little projects comes in $50,000-$60,000 over, now we've all of a sudden gone way over budget. So I'm not comfortable committing more money to this line item. I'm in favor of that statement piece, and whatever we got to do to get that statement piece, I'm in favor of that, Mr. Mayor. But
Okay.
I just don't want us to
Yeah,
just focus on-
overextend.
Just don't focus on that ship and pay another $100,000 for the ship when we can't get new grass.
Right. And let me ask, Michelle, can you come to the podium, please? Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any value in our old playground Or is that not,
You can't relocate it.
you can't?
No, once you can't pick it up and place it somewhere else.
Okay.
But you can maintain it in place for another number of years, which still leaves the opportunity for the kids that like the stuff that's there, and then provide something new.
It just seems like you're putting an old and new, it's like my dad used to say, put an old pair of shoes on a new suit or something, I don't know.
Again, I don't know how bad that
Getting a
set
whole
is.
new body out there, the whole, the
Well,
whole.
that, yeah, but then leaving the other one is what
Oh,
I'm
I
saying.
Yeah, but I don't think the other one's in that
I
bad.
don't think it's terrible.
It's starting to look bad, and especially the shades up there.
Where's Blair?
Really-
Call Blair.
Yeah,
Hey,
I know.
Is it the wow factor with the old playground or without? That's what I'm asking you.
It's not. It's
You know what I'm saying?
it's getting worn, and there's several things that are broken on it that staff has had to go and fix and remove over the year. There's been dangerous things that have been, jagged edges that staff has had to remove, several of them. Just one recently, and they're always fighting with. We keep having. Just because of the kids, where they run, all of the mulch will just move, and then you get the black tarp coming up and it's hanging out, and so you see kids run by and they get caught up in a trip. So it's a little bit of everything, it really is. But I wanted to call you up, Michelle, because, I only briefly got to speak to Mr. Forte today when I stopped in, and let me understand something. So we have budgeted $250,000 for the playground. And then in our packet, it says that we're using $94,000 roughly of CDBG money.
Yes.
So, and I know that that's a revenue into this budget, so I know that goes to the $450,000 for the total capital projects. But my question is, I know that we normally don't budget the grants until we get them. Did we do it opposite this time? Because as Joe was telling me, that money's really, we're not spending 250, we're spending 150 out of this project, or 159, whatever, 156, because of the 94,000 of CDBG money. I know that's a complicated question, but do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes, but the 94 is included in the 250.
But remember, Mayor, the 250 is separate from the 650.
Right.
You have 650 that has all the stuff at the top, minus the 455 for those items, and then below that you have 250, which is our 145 plus the CDBG, or 165 plus the 95 from CDBG.
So you're taking the 94 plus the CDBG to get to the 250.
Yes.
But how then, in the Sunrise Park North improvements, we have 250 allocated?
That's a separate, remember, we did the legacy project. We
Right.
put 650 in the budget for it, and that's all the items above. 455,000, you still have a balance of 194,000 unallocated. Then we said, all right, let's budget separately for the playground. We budgeted about 150, and then we added the 100,000 round numbers
Yeah.
from CDBG. That's how you get to the 250.
So we already received the CDBG money?
Yeah, well, we didn't receive it,
No.
but we're
It's guaranteed.
allocated it. It's not in our hand, but it's allocated that we will be reimbursed for this once we do it.
Okay.
So we
And so are we
budgeted as-
going back to that budgeting process? Because we got away from that budgeting process to put zero when we don't have it in the bank account. Because for instance, we're going to get FEMA money, but who knows when?
that's-
I know CDBG is different.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I just want to understand budgeting-wise, because as I look at the budget, I see that we have 94,000 coming in, and we have 250,000 allocated for the playground. I hope you see where I'm.
Yeah, but it's not unusual for CDBG, like when we do lift stations. If the lift station costs 250 and we have 100, we budget it as a total package. We budget the revenue, we budget the expense.
And if I may, too, this is a cost reimbursable grant, so we have to budget for the full amount.
We have to budget the revenue, you mean?
We have to budget
Expense.
the full amount because we spend it first, and then we're reimbursed.
Yeah, so we have to budget the 250,
Right.
knowing we're going to
Going to
get,
get the rebate almost.
right.
Right, so then we'd have a separate line account for the revenue.
So you don't
so
have
then-
250 plus 90.
Right. So then in addition to that, we have $200,000 for this overall larger project. So my next question is, Steve, then, have we talked to companies about the resodding of the St. Augustine? Are we pretty confident in the 250 number?
Yeah, at the last check, that should be fine, when I was talking to Parker Menchenberg. Now, we do have to obviously wait until the playground's in, before we can do that work, and prices do fluctuate, but I think that we're budgeted fine for the
So we're
work that.
conservative there, right? Like, you
Yeah.
don't think it's going to come in at 300?
I don't think so.
What's our CDBG number?
On 94.
94 something, 94 or 8?
855.
Yeah, 855.
So, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So,
So we're 50,000 short if it's 100.
well, no, I'm looking at the budget is 650 for everything above 19 and above, right? All that stuff up there. And we're estimating it's 455, 898, which leaves us a balance of 194, 101, right?
Right.
And then if you add 94, which is CDBG,
The 94 is already added in the 250 at the
It's in the
below.
250 for the playground. It's a separate project.
okay.
94 is already included.
So you're just saying we added it to the cost, but the money's not necessarily
I
there.
understand.
We know it's there. Okay.
Okay. I was trying to.
I know, that's where-
I was trying to find your $50,000.
That's where I was going too, and I still think that there can be found 50, but remember too, we're still 194,000 over.
So what about the 194?
Right. And so if we allocated, let's say 50, and by the way, I'm not so sure, and I don't know who it was that said 60,000 will become 100,000. Granted, I think it's not going to be 60, but, you know, they're charging $35,000 for the install currently as they projected it. So, you know, I would expect that to go up, it's bigger, but is it going to go up $40,000? Is that going to double? I don't see that happening.
We're talking about a larger footprint as well. So you have the larger
The
footprint.
blue stuff's going to be bigger.
Right.
I'm not sure that you need a larger footprint. It's a large.
Why wouldn't you want to just put 100,000 and be safe? It's
No,
there.
I'm good with that.
It's
I'm
there.
just saying, yeah, no, I'm saying.
Go with it.
I know, but I'm saying like if it's an extra 20,000, now we're only, you know, $20,000 or $30,000 off from the
But you're
real
not off
number.
if you use the balance of the money that's there, is what I'm
So
saying.
do we have a balance, do we have a balance of $194,000 unallocated
Yes.
right now?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you want to do what you're asking, and you want to say, all right, allocate out of that available budget of 194, throw another 100,000 at this, keep 94 in that available balance
For overages.
in case any of these other things go over.
Right.
And then we may have cost savings.
I'll
Right.
follow you down that trail.
Thank
I
you.
will too.
Thank you. Wow, I didn't think, I thought I was going to
Amazing.
have to come back to something else.
Amazing.
I'll follow you down that trail.
Mark this down on your calendar.
Yeah, I will. Do we have input from this side, or you guys?
I'm following it completely. It should work without a problem, exactly the way he said.
All right. So then, so do we need to take official action as a commission in the commission meeting to throw out the bids
Do I
and
have this on the regular?
ask them to redo it?
This,
We're going to bring it back.
it was going to be brought back. yeah.
So you're going to have to take formal action, and I'll have to ask Scott if you can do it if it's not on the agenda, but you're going to have to take formal action to throw out these bids and authorize the city staff to go out and rebid this and increase the budget allocation by 100,000.
Okay,
So,
redo the
Steve, would there-
specs.
So there were 6 people that bid, but 2 got thrown out because they were late,
Right,
right?
so-
Good question. That was one of, yeah.
All right, so
So they rebid,
that's the next comment, is you have 2 choices. You could either say rebid to the 4 people who submitted their bids timely, or you could say rebid it and include the 2 bids that did not
they
come in.
put it out
on
to the
time.
market again, see what else
And that's
they're
probably
gonna
more of an Antoine,
do. But do we
It would
Do
need
we
to
make these people mad by throwing, are they,
we have to-
in your experience, when we throw out all
Right.
bids, do people get mad and not
yeah, for
rebid?
CDBG, Steve's saying we're better off, it's safer if we go out and we just do open bid.
Right.
And that gives us more opportunity because there are several, like Compan, Game Time, these are some of the biggest in the world, and
Right.
they didn't submit. I don't know if those were the 2 late ones.
Game time submitted at 10:03,
And what time was the cutoff? 10?
10 o'clock.
Wow,
Oh,
interesting. Interesting. What about Compan? Did they?
10:01 wouldn't qualify.
No, Compan did not, they declined.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And can you put it in the bid specs that we want a showpiece? I don't know how you,
Yeah,
Put that-
themed. So they call it themed, is what I've found out. done too much research on this.
Themed
lately.
would, yeah, you're an expert now.
Kinda, I guess. But
Kids are the experts.
Well, yeah,
they
exactly.
are, and believe me, I'm gonna have them come and thank you guys the next.
Come on, Mayor,
commission.
let's bring back the metal slides and the
Yeah.
Wheel of
Yeah.
Death. Remember the Wheel of
I
Death
remember,
at Hollyland
that's what I
Park?
played on. Oh, yeah, and the metal slide that was 250 degrees.
My kids flew off of there a couple of times. Maybe that's what's
So, all right, and then just one other question too, before we move on from this. Steve, one of the things that I caught on to that maybe it need to address is Medley when they put in, which by the way, I thought theirs was the least
Yeah.
what we're looking for. But they had no itemized quote, and I thought they had to itemize everything. The itemized lines for, I believe it was for Top Line no, actually it was for Playworks, was very confusing. And they were my runner-up. Like, they had a good proposal, but I couldn't tell all the costs. But the thing that caught my eye on Playworks and Top Line, Playworks offered a $53,000 discount, and Top Line offered a $32,000 discount. Is that typical? I mean, the other ones didn't offer a discount, or they're just trying to make the numbers
It's
work?
like buying a car, man.
What it looks like.
Yeah,
Well,
why I
and so
wondered.
it's not atypical for playground companies. It's kind of like having a list price and then a sale price like you get anywhere else.
okay.
Yeah, that playground that we have currently, we got a $100,000 discount on.
So hopefully-
Basically, what that means is that the price was $100,000 less than they had
Inflated, right.
originally.
So
months and then they let
I
it-
wonder if Core Cat does the same thing. And, because they didn't discount anything, and they were just on list price. Everything I looked up online was exactly on the itemized. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's even a conversation you can have.
We can probably add to the spec that the proposal has to include any manufacturers or suppliers' discounts.
Okay,
And we need the specs on the fasteners too. We need to
Yes.
stress.
Yeah, we-
yes.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know the difference between the PIP, the port in place, and they have another term for it too, but because I looked at them, and some of them were very different. So some of them had different fall heights, different, how much
Mayor.
they put down.
I want to make sure also that it's not hot to the touch in the sun.
The only downside to that is that it can heat up, but if you're in an area with no wind, that's a really bad thing. This is the windiest park you ever.
I know it is.
And so it is nice. There's always a nice breeze. I think that's going to help. It's not hot to where you burn yourself on
Okay,
it.
okay.
But I've
It
been
just
to other
warms up a
parks
little
where
bit.
it does. And if there's no wind, you can feel it radiating heat, which I hate. But I think here at this park, because of how windy it always is. Yeah. So, all right.
The following, some of that, I mean, it's based on the height of the equipment. So if you have taller equipment, you'd have to have thicker
Right there.
port in place, right?
Yeah, localized. Okay, that makes sense. I just want to get a handle on it because the prices were so different with each company. I mean, wildly different. So I want to make sure that we're getting a good product with it. I don't know if there's one product that they're using or if it's different across the board. And my last question is, to that point, is somewhere in our agenda, it says that in our ordinances that we are allowed, when we get these types of quotes itemized, we're allowed to accept items or the aggregate, the whole thing, or items. And I don't understand how that is true, and that's in our packet too, that it says that. And it just caught my attention because if it's that way, why don't we just have the people do the port in place that are the cheapest? Why don't we mix and match? It says that if the commission deems it in the best interest of the city commission. I don't know, that's another crazier idea. I didn't think this was gonna go so well for myself, so I thought we were gonna be able to kind of pick and choose.
I'm afraid you don't want to
savings.
mix vendors, because if, the one guy's going to get the footers and then the other guy's going to pour it.
That makes sense.
Right, and exactly right, what Antoine's saying, it's their fault. Right.
I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, and I hear that, I have support.
Can we
so
ask
it's-
one other thing? And
Yeah.
so, can we ask for options? Give us a bid with the sun shades
Oh,
and
yeah.
without the sun shades. And for that 50 grand, what can we get if we decide, this is option one, This is option 2. Option 2 is
Remember,
Good idea.
no sunshades plus another swing
sunshade
set.
on the smaller boat covered the entire boat. The sunshade on the bigger boat were smaller sunshades. So
We were talking smaller ones, though.
Right, but those sunshades, in my opinion, are a waste of money.
you have
They're-
the ability, when a bid comes in, is to accept the bid, but say, I don't want the sunshades, take it out of the project.
Well, would it be?
But then don't we have to rebid it to everybody?
No.
That's what we're kind of doing right now.
You have to itemize it unless as an option.
See, if you had
Then
option
we can
B,
put sunshades as options.
yeah, as an option, like what can I get if I
I'd
don't
love
get the
to see
sunshades and what can I get without the
Yes.
sunshades?
Yes.
So do you want me to specify the size of the sunshades or the style? I mean, another
No,
option.
because they might come up, like Joe said, they may come up with 3 little sunshades with a little, a nursing area. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where mom's gonna sit there with their baby and their kid play, so.
They may come up with something even better than what what I found.
I don't know.
Is there any way, though, that we can let Core Cat know that we liked this one? I mean, or is that not the way?
You can't direct the project to a single vendor.
Okay.
So like you can't say, we want a boat as our
That's
playground because.
Yellow
there's
and
only-
blue and this height and, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. Then, so you'll bring that back to us anyways. I think you have enough information. If you have questions, let us know.
Put it out to bid, and when the bids come back, we'll put it back on the agenda.
Will you bring it to the commission first for us to throw out the bids, or can you put out a new
I gotta
bid
check
right
with
now?
Scott to see if we could just throw the bids out under comments tonight, or if we have to actually have it on the agenda to then throw it out.
Okay, good. Good thing. All right, thank you. All right, we have 20 minutes left of the workshop, and so, Joe, I don't know if you have
I don't know if
anything.
you wanted an update from Brian on the CDBG.
Yes.
CDBG,
The CBD. Yeah, so I asked Brian to give us an update on that. I briefly spoke with him today. At the last meeting, this commission, we had a lengthy discussion about the CBD facilities, yeah, in the city, and temporarily we placed kind of a hold, saying that the staff was going to look into a moratorium on them. And so I understand you've reached out to 9 different cities. What would you like to share with us, Brian?
Yes, Mayor, Commission. The commission asked that I see what other cities in the area were doing with regard to a moratorium or with regard to allowing medical marijuana facilities to exist in their jurisdiction. So I reached out to mostly all of the cities along the East Coast, and yes means that they, when I say yes, it means that they allow medical marijuana, no means that they do not. DeLand, which is that's the only one that was on the west side, no, they do not. Daytona, yes. Ormond Beach, yes. Ponce Inlet, no. South Daytona, no. The Shores, no. New Smyrna Beach, yes. Port Orange, yes. And Edgewater, yes. So the yes cities do allow medical marijuana, again, in the same places that allow pharmacies, because that is basically what this state law requires. If we're going to allow medical marijuana, we need to allow it where pharmacies exist. I did not find that there was any type of support or attempts to regulate low-level THC, which would be 0.3% or so. Exactly. So if the intent is to stop all of the gummies and the vape shops and, the bongs and low-level THC, I think that I didn't see anywhere that we would have the ability to do that. So that leaves us then with the medical marijuana. If you want to, you have a couple of options. One, you ban medical marijuana altogether, or you can simply do an ordinance. There would be no moratorium required. You simply do an ordinance to create a distance requirement that would apply equally to pharmacies and medical marijuana establishments. So in my research, those are the 2 options that I saw. Either ban it outright, as some of these cities, again, like South Daytona, the Shores, DeLand, or leave it alone, or create a distance requirement through an ordinance, and we can do that fairly quickly if that is the
Actually,
desire.
some, Brian, what about the ones that are already in place? That's grandfathered in, if you put a distance, and they're already in the distance or something?
It wouldn't apply to them,
It only apply for future?
right?
Right, okay, that's what I thought.
So I think that our Vice Mayor had a great idea last time, was the distance requirement. Maybe it's a mile, maybe it's 1.1 mile, whatever it ends up being, and we could pause any new incoming. And in my discussion with you, Mr. Walker, I alluded to, this is my opinion, and I think it's the will of this commission from our conversation, but I'm not sure. My intent is not to have staff go out into a gas station and have them put away, you know, some merchandise, because that's never going to work. They would do that all day long, every day. I don't think that's our intent. I think the intent is to stop all of these just pocket stores popping up. And with all this being said, we do need to say that the governor has a bill that's in front of him that he's either going to veto or sign. There's a large veto effort right now. If he vetoes the measure, these will still be in existence. If he signs this measure, all of these smaller shops are going to go away. So there's no problem anyways.
So what Brian is proposing only deals with medical marijuana dispensaries,
Not
not the CBD
Yeah.
shops.
we
But-
can't regulate them.
But I thought, though, I thought they fall under the same criteria.
No.
Is that
No,
not
just,
true?
so you're dealing with medical marijuana and pharmacies.
Yep.
That is one class, if you will.
Okay.
The
Okay.
other thing, completely separate, is low-level THC, which was permitted under a different under a different law, different regulation. One was the palliative and compassionate care that allowed medical marijuana. Then a few years later, they allowed low-level THC, and that's authorized by the state under a different ordinance.
Okay.
That ordinance, I didn't see anything that allowed us to put a moratorium on that or to stop the low-level THC. So you have folks out there who are providing the low-level THC gummies and
Okay.
other products, if you will.
So, because that was in our conversation the other night, I thought that they were classified as the same thing. So if they're not classified as the same thing, then could we classify them differently here in the city, or is that a state mandated classification? Do they just fall under what, convenience store?
That is my impression, yes, that those items are just sold in gas stations, convenience stores. Sometimes you walk in a chiropractor's office, they have creams and things of that type. But as you correctly stated, those types of things are under scrutiny, if you will, or being looked at by the governor. I understand the bill passed both houses, and it's sitting now with the governor to sign. If he signs it, then all of these little mom and pop type gummy places go away, but that does nothing to the medical marijuana. That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, thank you. You had a question?
I thought we got caught up in this last time, that we weren't really worried about the 7-Elevens and all that selling whatever things. We were just more concerned with the image of these places popping up that, you know, Mr. Weed, Dr. Weed, Mrs. Weed,
Right.
you know.
Remember, you've got to clearly distinguish between medical marijuana dispensaries, which is like Fluent, True Leaf, what's the other one up there on Nova Road?
Vitacan.
Vitacan. Those are medical marijuana dispensaries. Dr. Weed, Dr. Bernard, was a medical marijuana doctor, not a dispensary. Completely different. As opposed to these places that pop up, that in the window, they got a pot leaf that says CBD. That we can't regulate, that we're not regulating.
We can't.
No. That's an unregulated
How is
product.
how is it we can regulate like a tattoo shop or anything else?
Well, you're only doing that by zoning. You're regulating it by zoning. And we have allowed, now typically, we restricted tattoo places to be in the industrial zoning, but we recently opened that up to be in the CC1 zoning. With the CBD facilities, it's a retail store, and it's allowed anywhere that retail businesses can go.
Any other questions? So this is a little bit more deep than I think our conversation was today, Mr. Walker. So At this time, I don't have any direction for you, unless this commission does. I'm going to talk with you more about this.
So you don't want us to bring back anything about the distance on medical marijuana?
So we could do that. That would only go to, let me ask you a question. The Wells Fargo on Flomish, is that one, your understanding, was it one of the, like the CBD facilities, or was it more of the medical marijuana?
They didn't say. They just said that they were involved, they were one of the largest cannabis operations in the country, was the wording that they used in the email. But my understanding is that deal has fallen through.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I still think there's merit to restricting the number of medical marijuana dispensaries in our city. And it'd be helpful for me if we could have staff show us on the map where they are and show the distance between them. With US 1 being as our linear corridor, I don't think we need more than 3 on that area. There's already 2. But I don't want to make my mind up what that distance is until I know where they are now.
Yeah.
So if we could ask staff to provide the location on our city map and the distance between them, that would be helpful for me giving direction going
Yes.
forward.
Mayor,
Yeah.
the only problem with that, Brian, didn't you say that we have to regard them the same as a regular pharmacy?
Yes.
Yes.
We
So-
don't need 27 pharmacies in our
Yeah,
city.
but what if the distance, if it's already in place, it doesn't matter, you're saying?
Right, they're already there.
Got it, okay.
They can't go,
Right,
they're
okay.
grandfathered.
Got it.
All right, well then, and I think that's a good direction. Do we have consensus? Is there any objection? All right, seeing that we have direction given to the city manager and you, Mr. Walker, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Forte, we have 10 minutes left. Is there anything further you'd like to talk about before the meeting?
I've got 5 minutes of Joe to.
Okay.
Come on, I know.
No.
All right, John says he has 5 minutes. Start the clock, Val. I'm just
Only
kidding.
give him
Just
5
kidding. Let's keep it at 5. I'll try to shut up. Your turn, Vice Mayor.
It may take us more than 5 minutes to come to a consensus, but I hope not. So recently, I've been thinking about the holidays. December will be here before we know it. And historically, we always had an employee Christmas party. And then budget crunches came, and the Christmas party went away, and the easy thing to do was to send a $50 gift card to a restaurant to all of our employees. They felt appreciated, we felt like we gave them something, and I think it was not genuine. And so I would propose that we research bringing back the citywide employee Christmas party. It's already in the budget because we're already budgeting $50 a gift card. I have taken it upon myself to contact one of our local establishments, Riviera Country Club. They can do anything from hot dogs to a carving station. If you've ever eaten there, they do a really fine job. Inside, they can provide 80 to 100 people comfortably, and based on past participation, that would accommodate the city. I've also gone so far as to penciling December 14th as an available date for that. So I then thought to myself, we have a Christmas parade, which is the first Saturday. Usually Simpson's party is the second Saturday, but this year we moved it to the third Saturday because of the thing at Pictona. So I'm just asking if anyone else feels this way, if we want to go this direction, we need to get staff working on it now. The easy thing to do is sit back and just send out another Carrabba's gift card. I think it's impersonal. I think the employees would like to interact with each other. I would like to interact with the employees in a casual basis like that. So we can either do it the 14th to the 21st, or we can just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, so I'll just make it quick. I support that. I think it was well said. Vice Mayor, I have nothing to add, other than I won't be here for December. So you're running for mayor, so hopefully you're at the helm at that first Christmas party. So I'm in support of that. We very grateful to all of our employees that serve the city. So it's a good way to show them that we care, because we don't ever get to really communicate with them. So I'm in favor of that. Is anyone against that?
I'm good with that.
There's really no budgetary issues, so it's already budgeted, so.
Oh, it's next year, so you'll be putting it into next year's budget.
Oh, that's true too, yeah. So just keep
It'll
that
probably
the
be
same.
cheaper, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
Especially if you have hot dogs.
Good point. Good point, Mr. Vice Mayor. And so with that, is there anything further? We have 6 minutes till the commission meeting. Seeing nothing further, this workshop